Okay, so this is going to be something slightly different for me, a bit more of an off-the-cuff video, but we're back and we're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds. So a little bit of background, I jumped into this franchise like most new people with Monster Hunter World and immediately fell in love with this franchise. I haven't put the most amount of time into World and Iceborne that some people have, which the veteran players put in thousands of hours. I'm sitting at around 550 or so, I think. I'm a fiver. I'm still relatively new to the game despite going through World, Iceborne and Rise and Sunbreak. But I still feel that it's an important perspective to have because I find it fascinating that every release that I've been a part of, there's this conversation about difficulty. People said World was too easy, people said Rise was too easy, Rise is too easy, and now Wilds is also too easy. And I believe it's a valid argument to have because despite being new in the grand scheme of things, I never got that sense with World or Iceborne, but then Rise comes out and I managed everything in the base game and most of Sunbreak before having a single car, let alone a triple. So I can absolutely see where that argument comes from. But what I haven't been able to pin down is it actually easy, or is it because the fundamental formula of this franchise hasn't changed over the years? And you just know how the game works, right? And this isn't unique to Monster Hunter. Pokemon has this, Final Fantasy XIV has this, Destiny 2 has this, loads of other games have this exact same conversation, and I honestly don't think either the player or the devs are right or wrong with it. It's a fence-sitting answer to everything, sure, but longer time players know that a G rank or a master rank now comes out afterwards, and that's where the real challenge is. But it's the expansion to the base games, it is what I believe is the cause of the argument, right? Because people ultimately spend more time in the tougher content than anywhere else, and then going from the most challenging part of a generation to straight back down into a new low rank for a new generation. Like, yeah, I feel like it's gonna feel easy despite new monsters because you're jumping back into what's essentially a tutorial. But I don't want to spend the whole video just talking about difficulty because is Wilds easy? Yeah, it kind of is, but it serves its purpose. It's low rank, it's high rank, it's off the back of a master rank expansion, and it's also got to be accessible for new players, right? And when you're selling 8 million copies in 3 days, you want as many of those people to hang around as possible. And that's not to say the game should dumb itself down, but it also shouldn't arbitrarily make itself too difficult for the sake of it and suck the fun out of everything, you know? It's Monster Hunter, it's not a Souls game or an Elden Ring. But while we're on the subject of difficulty, I think it dovetails nicely into the new gimmick of this generation. The new skill set that Capcom has given hunters, the wound mechanic, I think it's fair to say that this is an evolution of what the Clutch Claw ended up being like in Iceborne, where you make little crit spots on monsters, and we all know how clunky that one turned out to be. And it felt kind of forced on the player to an extent, right? Because a hunt basically had to stop for a second while people faffed about the settings and setting those crit spots up. But I feel like every single complaint about the Clutch Claw was addressed here. Like, obviously the game has been out for about a week and a half and I'm only a handful of hours in, but it feels so much more natural here in Wilds. It's not standing behind you forcing you to do a specific action. And if you wanted to, you could totally ignore the entire mechanic that is just there. A bit like how I've been doing the Power Clash. Mainly because I forgot what tutorials said to do to get it going, but I've since learned how to do it, and it's such a fun addition. And it's a fun addition because it feels natural, as I said before, and I feel like that's what Capcom pride themselves on with this franchise. Everything just feels real and full of life. Like, all the monsters feel like something you could step outside and see, and the way the hunters interact with them now in Wilds with power clashes and the wounds, it just feels like an extension of that. And of course, it really helps that Capcom's sound design, cinematic and animation teams absolutely know what they're doing here, because man, this game rides the power fantasy so well, and it just gets more rewarding the better you get at the game. But I want to talk about the campaign for a little bit, because this is the first time that Capcom has given the campaign any real attention. And sure, it's not a massive improvement because it's just the same cookie cutter white bread Monster Hunter story. But I really appreciate the change in the presentation of it and the characters actually having names now, like Gemma and Ulma, not just the Smithy and the Handler. And of course, with actual names come actual personalities. They all have characters to them. Like, even the Palicos get some attention here with the addition of actual dialogue and not just cat sounds, which they're not the best by any means, but they sound exactly how I would have expected them to. And while the campaign has a ton of cutscenes so far, they're really well presented, and the graphics and the CGI of those cutscenes are insanely well done. I'm playing on PC for the first time since something like Worms Armageddon, so that's just dated me. And I've been constantly blown away by how stunning this game looks. But I know it's a bit of a sticking point at the minute for PC performers, but apart from the opening of the game where you first get the Sacred, and my game had a crazy amount of stuttering there, like it was to the point where it stopped and then just fast forwarded itself to it. I haven't noticed a single frame drop once, and I'm running 2K Ultra with the high res texture pack as well. So maybe it's because I've got a GPU with a high amount of VRAM. I don't know, I'm basically PC part illiterate, so I can't say for sure, but it's been a flawless experience for me, and hopefully it carries on that way. But overall, I'm loving this game. It's easy, sure, but I'm in low rank. I know it's only going to ramp up from here as I get into high rank and then the expansion whenever that comes out. It's great to have a more traditional style of Monster Hunter weapons and armor back, and the designs of everything I've seen so far have been great. Not a single standard greatsword with a feather slapped on it in sight, it's just mwah. The campaign though, it's totally fine. The presentation is the best I think they've ever done, and I look forward to seeing them continue to expand on that in the future generations. Gameplay and the new mechanics are fantastic. I'd honestly be happy if it just becomes the standard going forward and we never lose these mechanics. But that's just going to continue to grow and expand upon with what each weapon can do. At the end of the day, I'm just having so much fun with it, and it feels great to have a Monster Hunter game back again, because despite being semi-new to this franchise, this has become a staple of my gaming catalogue now, and I can't imagine like life without it at this point. So with that, let me say thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave a like and let me know how you're finding Wilds. Is this your first game in the series, or have you been here since the beginning? What are you maining right now? I'm a greatsword main person, if you couldn't tell from the footage in the video, because big number make brain big happy. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll eventually have my full review of the game, and once I've gone through and even taken a look at the end game. So look forward to it, and with that, I've been Mitch692, you've been great, and this has been my first Monster Hunter video, so peace!